Cheers, y'all. Welcome to Thursday night, Lake Fork Bass Fishing. Top Baits Live. Hey, we're going to talk about it, man. It's going down. Prespawn is officially underway. That means the time of year to go catch some big bass and some big bags of bass. Some of the biggest, best 5 bags of the year are going to happen from today till March. There's going to be some giant sacks of fish caught by the lucky few that get out there and line it up right and execute and all that good stuff. And, man, it's time. It's time to start showing up Lake Fork. It's been a ghost town. It's been a ghost town. I guess I'm talking mostly to all the other guys over there at Welsh. Y'all come on back. It's about time. It's been nice not having y'all there, but it's definitely time, man. Prespawn is going down. It is so cool every year. I have a habit. It seems like I enjoy fishing out there, even with like sometimes when it's really, really hard to get bites. I enjoy fishing out there that time of year when the lake is empty and I can have it to myself and take my time and fish around however I want to, not worry about, how many people are fishing over here and how many people are fishing over there. And that's just a factor that you have to factor in on Lake Fork. But man, it's beautiful to have it to yourself. And they've been kind of trying to bite a little bit. It's been kind of good here lately. So not a lot, like still not a lot of bites, but consistently day to day starting to catch pretty good bags of fish as of this week, as of the last 5-7 days, something like that. So, man, I'm really excited. I'm enjoying my fishing right now as much or more than I have in a long time. I'm having a ton of fun, and it's been awesome. It's been a good little run here lately. I've really been enjoying it. So, man, let's talk about what's going on. It is pre-spawn. It's a pre-spawn time here. First of all, before we get into all that, hey, thank you guys so much for joining in tonight. I'm so excited about the pre-spawn that I didn't even talk to y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining in like you always do. I appreciate it. Do me a favor, as you get in here, if you enjoy these, hit that thumbs up. Hey, drop me a comment. I see a bunch of y'all commenting already, so I'll know who I'm talking with. And also, if you guys know how to do, because I don't know how to do this stuff, but you're smarter than me, which you probably are, and you know how to like share this to your friends or whatever, that'd be great. Go ahead and do that. That gets more people watching. I sure would appreciate it. We got some Big John's Life in here. We got Carl Street, Rattle Trap, Gary Ullman, ATX Outdoors, John Denny, Jeff Bonner, David G, Gabriel, Ryan Burrows, Cody Mays, Brad Lemire, Little Sausage, Texas Air Gunner, who I met at the seminar the other night. That was cool. Johnny Rocket, Junior Figueroa, Barrett Bitterfield, Case and Gabe. What's up, big dog? Victor Pearsall, Ronnie Green, Ty Duty, JC, Southeast Bass. And man, thank y'all all so much. And I know I missed some. And I will. There's just so many of you guys commenting. I'm going to miss some of y'all. So I appreciate it very, very much. Thank each and every one of y'all. All right, let's talk about what's going on. Pre-spawn. A few different patterns going on. We'll talk about that tonight. The water's cold. The water's been hovering around the 50-degree mark, depending on which day you're out there. It was below 50 degrees a few days ago, earlier in the week, Sunday, Monday. We had that warm night. Was it Monday we had that warm night? Or Sunday night? I can't remember. I can't remember exactly what night it was, but we had a warm night. The low was only 50 degrees, and the next morning I got out there, and the morning water temps were like 50.6 where I started. And I was really excited about that because it was like the first time the water trended back. I mean, it was like 49 the day before, so it was like 1.5 degrees. It wasn't like it warmed up a bunch. Like it wasn't making a big difference, but it was the first time that the water trend had turned around and warmed up overnight. That hadn't happened yet. So I was excited about that. And I actually didn't get to fish today or yesterday. I fished Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I'll fish tomorrow, Saturday, back off the water Sunday, and then back on the water Monday is my plans coming up. So been fishing a lot lately, but yesterday and today I didn't fish, and I'm excited to get back out there tomorrow because I bet that water temp's going to be like 52, maybe even 53. And Lord help us if it's 54 or 55. We're about to get on them because what's going on is some of these stuff that will be good from now all the way into and through a lot of March is really starting to play right now. There's not as many fish on it. There's not a lot of fish on it. There's not a lot of fish willing to bite in that 50-degree water. But there's some fish on it, and there's some good quality fish on it. And we're talking about patterns like shallow shell beds. We're talking about patterns like shallower creek channel swings. We're talking about patterns like the little bit of grass that's in the lake, fishing the creek channels and the drains that run through the grass. Like the stuff we talk about all the time here for pre-spawn where they group up. They're starting to get in those areas. And the little bit of warming at a time is just going to put more and more fish and bigger fish in those areas. and they're really going to start to get in these bigger groups. And then the few bites won't be so few. On the good days, you'll go in there and pre-spawn, and you'll catch them up, like you'll bust them up and have one of the best days you've ever had. If you'd like some evidence to this, watch the video me and Brandon Dillard shot last year on Lake Fairfield in January when we had a really good, hard, like 3-day warm trend, and we were out there in shorts in January, and it was like 65, 70 degrees that day or whatever, and it was unbelievable. I mean, we just caught them and caught them and caught them and caught them. It was huge. We ended up making 2 videos at it. We just whacked them. So those kind of days are going to happen. Also, a lot of y'all will remember the guys tournament video from a few years ago. We had a warm trend going into that morning. Now, we had bad weather that day. It turned off and got cold like an hour, 2 hours into the tournament. It went from 65 degrees to 30 degrees in like 5 minutes. A cold front blew through, and that made the rest of the day kind of slow down and be a little bit tough. Mostly mentally for us. The fish still bit a little bit, but we got monkeyed up mentally, and everybody did that fished that tournament. But that first hour, if you guys remember, that first hour of that guys tournament was one of the more special hours I've ever filmed. I mean, we were catching nothing but big ones, and we were catching them all in one little drain. And I mean, those type of moments they're about to happen. It's coming. I'm like so excited. So I know I've gone into a pretty long tangent about what's going on, but I want you guys to understand, man, it's the best bites of the best little windows of the year, the best feeding windows of the year are about to happen. So let's talk about some baits and how we're going to fish these different areas and different patterns. I have a glare of my hand in the corner of the screen. I know my screen on my phone is cracked, and one of those cracks runs real close to the camera lens, and it makes me have a mirrored effect. Sorry about that. The screen ain't dirty, it's just cracked. I wipe it off before every live stream because I'm fancy. Anyways, let's talk about some baits. This is a bait that has been killing it for me lately. I love this bait. With it being so hard to find grass in Lake Fork right now, this is like, this bait is the bait this year, man. This is the deal because, you know, I love fishing a lipless crankbait this time of year in the pre-spawn. And the lack of grass in Lake Fork right now specifically, I can take this bait and give them a lipless crankbait presentation and get deflections off wood and other cover when I don't have grass. And that's going to be the flat crankbait, the Crush Flat 75X. This Tiger Truce, speaking of that guys tournament a few years ago in that pre-spawn deal on Fork, we were throwing the Tiger, this color lipless crankbait, and you guys will see that bait here in a little bit. But this same color, man, this has been the deal. This has been the deal. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't seem to matter right now whether the water's clear, the water's dirty. It doesn't matter. I'm throwing this crankbait, this color, every single day in every different water color. The water clarity on Fork on most of the lake is actually really, really, really good for this time of year. Like, so good for this time of year. It's so much better than it normally is. The back of a lot of the creeks, like the big flowing creeks, is dirty. And it's to be expected to be dirty, but it's not so dirty that you can't catch them. And I'm catching fish in that dirty water. And don't be afraid of dirty water this time of year. Don't let that bother you, man. Unless it's like if there's like debris floating and it's like brown, like chocolate milk brown mud, don't be afraid to fish that dirtier water this time of year. I've caught a lot of big fish out of dirty water in this time of year. So that's my #1 bait right now, man. I can take this bait in almost any of these staging areas. So the shallow shell bed deal, this is my #1 bait on that. It's the bait I'm catching most of my fish on that shallow shell bed deal. Also, back in earlier spawning flats that don't have grass, I'm catching some fish on this bait right here as well. Can't talk highly enough. I've always really, really liked it, and I've totally fallen in love with that bait this year. It's done a lot of good for me. You know, the other bait that we're throwing around, on the shallow shellbed areas is, of course, it's going to be a jerkbait. And I'm fishing these shallow shellbed areas, but I'm fishing a little bit more off the edges of them right now. Now, tomorrow I may change and get up on the shallow flats if that water temp is rose enough. But right now I've been fishing kind of in that 4 to 8 to 10 foot range. I I'm throwing that square bill up there and grinding it and letting it bounce. And then once it stops bouncing, when it comes off that lip, off that drop off, that's where I'm getting my bites in that 4 to 8 foot range off the side of those slopes. Jerkbait, same way. Throwing it up there over the shallow one, getting it, and when it comes out off the edges, that's where you get your bites. This gold reactor color, which is always a great color in the Prespawn on fork, has been my best jerkbait color here lately. So that's kind of my 1-2 punch on the shallow shell bed areas right now is the crushed flat 75 square bill along with the jerkbait. In the creek swings, there's still a little bit of jig bite going on. The jig bite was better. It was better a week ago, but it's still there. 1/2 ounce black and blue jig. Hey, my orange deal's not really working. I told y'all throwing that jig with that orange on the belly is like a key deal. Man, the black and blue's been catching on better than anything else. And then also, I've been getting some bites on green and brown jigs, which I don't normally even throw this time of year. But I've just been mixing it up. If I find a creek swing that I'm getting some bites in, I'll throw a few different jigs. I'll go to a 3/4 ounce jig. I'll go to a 3/8 ounce jig. I'll switch colors. Once I've gotten a couple bites in one creek swing, I'll keep changing the jigs up, trying to get extra bites. Especially the 3/4 ounce jig, that helps sometimes get extra bites. And then switching up to a green and brown's got some bites. But that black and blue one that has the orange on the belly hadn't been getting any bites. But that black and blue one right there has been getting most. That's the #1 jig. The 1/2 ounce black and blue jig's the #1 jig for creek channel been fishing in the wintertime on Lake Fork. And this year's no exception. It's been getting most of the bites in that deal. All right, let's move over to some grass area type stuff. And this is grass area type stuff, but you can fish the shallow, earlier warming flats with these baits, even if you don't have grass, and catch some fish. You just really, really, really have to concentrate on those creek channels and those drains. That's the deal. You got to stay around the subtle elevation changes within those extremely shallow waters. There are some fish starting to stack up in the ones without grass. They have to. They're going to have to get there because they're going to spawn early in there. So they can be caught, but you got to be in the gathering areas. In the grass, there's a little, if you got grass, there's a little bit more variance. They may get up out of that and go live in the grass a little bit, stage in the grass a little bit. They may not be just so keyed in. They'll be around that drain or that creek channel, but they may not be in it. They're pretty much in it or on the edge of it if there's not grass there from what I'm seeing. There's none just wandering the flat. Some of the grass fish, you can find some wandering the flat. So let's talk about the baits we're using there. A bait that surprisingly I wasn't getting any bites on, and then just here real recently I started getting bites on, is the Tiger Truce Quake 70 lipless crankbait. I caught some big fish on it last time I was out. So this bait right here is starting to play, and it's going to continue to probably get better. It usually does. Usually it's right on time, man. By the time we get to the last week in January, first week in February, pretty much every year on Lake Fork, this bait right here will flat catch their butts. And it's starting to get some big bites, and it's going to continue to, I feel like. So I'm definitely going to throw that a lot tomorrow. Then the other bait, y'all will never guess it knowing me. Y'all will never guess what bait we're about to talk about knowing me. But say it with me. The chatterbait. Let's go. So 3/8 ounce chatterbait. Black and blue has been my best color. Black and blue has been my best color. I'm pairing it with the Live Magic Shad. But also on a color variance, again, a lot like the jig, I'll throw a couple different colors because some days they're biting black and blue, and some days they're biting white better. And there's really, I can't give you a rhyme or reason. I'll throw both of those colors, black and blue and white, no matter how dirty the water is. And some days in that dirty water, they'll bite the black one. Some days in that dirty water, they'll bite the white one. And there doesn't really seem to be a correlation to clouds or light penetration or water clarity or anything. It just seems to be kind of random. So you just need to play with both of them till you get some bites. Then you're in good shape. When should you throw the red color? The green pumpkin with red, man, I like the water clarity to be a little bit, it's more, to me that green pumpkin with that red, that hot crawl is more of a natural color. And I really, for me, I like the water to be a little bit cleaner if I'm going to throw that. In dirty water, that black and white is kind of my deal. It always has been for a long time. Now, that orange one that they got, that Firecraw, if you like to throw that one, I would throw that one in dirty water and I would try it. But, you know, I don't really throw that Firecraw one very much. That black and white has worked for me for a long time. It's still working. I just kind of dance with who brung you thing type deal there for me. So this is good. Yeah, Tyler's fishing good. 10.18 and the 9.3 was caught yesterday. Hope to catch a check in the media tournament Saturday on Tyler. Well, Tony Maynard, good luck in the tournament Saturday. There was also an 11-pounder caught out of there last weekend. So apparently Lake Tyler, it's going down. They catching some heads out of there right now. It's just that time of year, boys. I mean, you know, y'all saw Sam kicked out that 13-pounder for somebody. Lake Austin kicked out a 13-pounder. Like, it is, the time of year to go catch an old big head. Like, for real. It's the time of year to catch it. The fish of your lifetime. This is it. So those are kind of the baits we're using. That's what we're getting. You know, one other bait that I am using, I'm going to go back, we're going to backtrack a little bit here, but another bait that I am using a little bit on the shallow shell bed deal is a Carolina rig. I'm just not getting a lot of bites, but I feel like that water's probably warmed up the last couple of days, you know, a little bit, because we got, and I know it's not warm outside. It feels cold. I get it. It's you don't think the water's going to be warming, but we've got these warm nights. Like, I think the low tonight's supposed to be like 52. These warmer nights are gonna, even with clouds and rain, and it's not going to warm as much, but there's going to be a little bit, just a little bit of warming, and that water just trending the right direction. We talk about this so much. It's a lot more about the trend than it is about the raw temperature of the water. And that water just trending back in the upward direction a little bit. It's going to pull some of those fish in. Now, if it gets cold again, it's going to pull them back out, and they'll just kind of do this back and forth deal in those staging areas. But that's what makes this deal so good, is those shallow shellbed points have drop-offs on them. The best ones have really good drop-offs on them. Those creek channel bends and those drains have those little subtle drops that those fish suck down into in the grass areas, or the early spawning areas. The mid-depth creek channel bends that we've been fishing with a jig, they obviously have that drop-off. They just pile up in there, and they just don't go anywhere. They just kind of, they'll move a little bit in them depending on the weather, but they don't really leave until they start really getting, till the water really warms. And then the first ones will get up on the flat and spread out, but, or the shellbed fish will move further back. But when those fish move, more come in there. And the next wave comes in there after that. And so you've got this deal for like, from now until March, where you've got these areas that are always got new fish coming in. And if they don't, they've got the same fish that are just staying there. And they're right in that little area somewhere. It's a real small area, easy to locate them. And that's what makes this time of year. I mean, if you can get out there and understand it and learn it, there's a lot of opportunities to catch them good. Let's answer some questions. What's up, Gary Payne? I see you dropping a comment in there. I appreciate you stopping in, brother. Let's answer some questions. And I apologize, man. This time of year, y'all gonna bear with me over a little while here. My allergies will start getting a little bit wonky. Yeah, some trees are starting to bud and stuff like that, and my nose starts tickling a little bit, you might say. What's up, Michael Bray? Do I ever mess with Tokyo rig? I personally haven't ever fished Tokyo rig. I probably should. I had a customer fishing it a couple weeks ago, and he caught a good one on it. When is our color coming out? I don't know, bro. I don't know what our custom color's coming out. Barrett Benefield says, Martin Creek was tough for me, everyone I talked to last weekend. Yeah, you know, Martin Creek, it tends to do that a little bit. Martin Creek, to me, is best in November and December. And then it's okay in January, but it starts fading. And it just kind of can start getting a little... It's like the spawn gets spread out, and some of those fish have already spawned, and they're in that funky post-spawn, haven't really got the feedback back on. They're just tired type deal. And Martin Creek can be that way. It can be a little bit tough once you get past December. The last couple of years. Now, when I first started fishing Martin Creek years ago, there's a lot more grass on the lake. And we caught them really, really good in January, February back then. But the last couple of years, it's like Martin Creek's good in November, December, and then it kind of starts fading. It's not as good. Don't let Heath stop making the Smash Tail Junior. It's too late. He discontinued that a long time ago. But I hear you. In 2 or 3 weeks, the fishing will be good. Yeah, I mean, you're right, but don't sleep on right now. I mean, it's kind of, like I said, you're not just going to go out there and whack them and get a whole bunch of bites every day. But there's some good fishing right now. Like, there really, really is. Really, really is. What kind of rod do I fish the flat-sided crankbait with? A 7-1 medium heavy. And I'm throwing it on 15-pound fluorocarbon. Sucks not knowing where y'all are talking about being new to this lake. Well, you know, Texas Air Gunner, there's a really good way to know exactly where we're talking about. You can go subscribe on the Fish Life app to the Lake Fork Premium Package, and we update spots on there every single month, and you can see all these type of areas that we're talking about, and it'll take you right to them, tell you kind of what that area is, what baits are working best there. We update that every month around the first of the month, and if you want to know what these areas look like and kind of how to find them and how to duplicate them, that's the best way to do it, brother. Do you think the rain makes the lake warm more? Do I think the lake increases the warmth in the lake? No. No. Rainwater's cold. Even if rain is falling and it's 65 degrees outside, the rainwater falling from the sky is cold. Up in the clouds, it's way colder than it is down here. So, no, the rainwater's colder than the lake. So the deal that's making the lake wanting to warm a little bit is the fact that we're not getting cool nights right now. We're getting 50-degree nights. So that's what's making the lake warm a little bit. The lake would warm a lot. Like with these 50, I'm telling you, with these 50-degree nights we've had this week, if we had sunshine this week, the lake would warm a tremendous amount and it'd be on fire by now. I mean, absolutely on fire if we would have had sunshine all week with those warm nights. The clouds and the rain are counteracting the warm nights a little bit, so it's limiting how much the lake can warm. That's why it's only warming half a degree, 1.5 degree, whatever, kind of staying level, maybe trending up a little. But it's good. It would be better with sun. So no, I believe that the rain and all that stuff kind of counteracts what you're doing. Need to wrap my new Skeeter in Tiger Truth? Boy, no, I wouldn't. No, you know, man, hold up, dog. I can't be rapping in Tiger Truth. That's a crazy rap. Now, I'd be scared of that boat. That sucker'd be like loud. They'd hear me coming. Can't do that, man. All them other guys would be seeing my boat, be running everything on, be hole buzzing me, dog. I'm just kidding, of course. Get the thumbs up. Hit them like buttons. Big John's telling y'all hit them like buttons. I appreciate it, Big John. Avery says he's going out tomorrow after the rain stops. I'll be out there tomorrow as well, brother. Holler if you see me. What's in the box behind me? Whale swim baits. There's all kinds of 6-inch baits laying around here right now. I got a big, huge order in last week, and I ain't stacked it all up in my boat yet. I put some of it in there, but I haven't put it all in there. What's my favorite bait to use during pre-spawn? Man, I don't have a one. I don't have a one. Honestly, the baits we're talking about tonight, I could probably narrow it down to 3 for you. It would be a chatterbait, a lipless crankbait, and a jig. And all 3 of those are in our top 5 baits and our top baits for Lake Fork tonight. And I use all 3 of them, depend on them religiously every year in the pre-spawn. And they're all like, the chatterbait's been around long enough at this point, I think we can call it time tested. So, yeah. The lipless crankbait's been doing it forever. The jig's been doing it forever. They work every year in the pre-spawn. Timmy Rose says, we need to get a Toledo Rayburn trip this year. Old school rules and jokes. Oh, God. I might be getting too old to handle them old school rules, if you know what I'm saying. Some of them get a little out of hand. But, Tim, holler at me, man. We actually are doing a Toledo trip in May, I believe. I'm going to be at Toledo in February. I'm going to be at Rayburn in March and Toledo in May because I'm fishing that Bass Champ Series. And before all those tournaments, I'm going down, the week before off limits. And, yeah. So you can come with me anytime you want to, bud. Any keys to, this is a good question right here. Good question. Any keys to boat position when fishing ditches or channels? So for creek channel swings with the jig, there's definitely definitely a hardcore rule that I live by on boat positioning. In those creek channel swings where I'm fishing a jig, the creek channel bend goes like this. Boat positioning is on the inside. I want to be throwing past the outside bend and dragging up to it because the outside bend will always have the steepest drop, and I want that jig to come up to that steep drop, hit that root, pop off, and fall down into that creek. That subtle fall is where you get most of your bites on that deal. So I'm always, here's creek bend, boat's right here, and I'm casting to here, casting to here, casting to here, dragging to the outside bend, letting it fall down that steepest slope. That's no matter what the wind direction is doing, that's how you position your boat to fish creek bends with a jig. That being said, when the wind blows really hard, it makes it difficult because sometimes it works out. But if you're having to throw across the wind and you're trying to drag that jig real slow and that wind's putting that bow in your line, it's going to get you hung up more. It's going to make it a lot tougher to feel the bait. It's going to present some challenges. Fishing in the shallower drains and ditches around grass, the boat positioning is a little bit different. A lot of times I'll put my boat in the drain or in the creek and work the edges on both sides. So if the creek's running this way, I'll put my boat right here and throw up this edge and slowly work up that creek, hitting the edge all the way down it. So I'm trying to parallel the edge when I'm fishing grass-related stuff. I'm fishing across the edge when I'm fishing jigs. Movement ADX for pre-spawn. I think that's what you're asking. A movement ADX? Yes, movement ADX. And man, I should be throwing it. It's funny you say that. When I was pulling out the baits to do this, I saw a movement ADX laying in the floor of my boat. I'm like, I'm going to tie that sucker on tomorrow and throw it a little bit. Because it is a bait that can get some extra bites and sometimes can get better than anything else on some days. So it's a bait I need. I just, for whatever reason, have been getting bites on these baits, so I haven't really been throwing it. But I need to start throwing it again because the movement ADX can be very, very, very effective in the shallow pre-spawn areas. What's up, Bass Bum? We dealt with the wind the day out. Avery said we dealt with the wind the day he was out with me, and we lost 8 jigs. Yeah, it was a lot of jigs. I don't know exactly how many it was, but it was all of them. Tips on how to locate shallow shell beds. Yeah, the number one tip is the loon. Watch the loons, man. You know, look on your Navionics map for shallow points and shallow outcroppings on your map on your graph, and then wherever you see those shallow outcroppings and you see loons going to them, those are going to be good shell beds. What about the ditchweed? Yeah, ditchweed's a color. If the water's dirtier or we like these darker cloudy days, I will pick up the ditchweed color on the jerkbait. That gold chrome is usually good in any light conditions this time of year on that jerkbait, on fork specifically, but that ditchweed's a player too, especially in dirtier water and darker conditions. Tim says no wet bread. Oh my God, bro. Do you remember when that piece of wet bread went like inside your truck? You remember that? Oh, so bad. There were so many pranks. Like, you guys don't even know, man. Back in the day, before we had the cameras going, before we were filming YouTube videos, we would go on this Toledo Bend buddies trip with Zach Watts and a bunch of crazy folks. And dude, the pranks and the harassment that went on these trips got a little bit out of hand at times. It really did. I mean, I'm talking about drags backed off. Hey, hell with drags backed off. How about this one? You strip about 30 feet of line off. You snip the line. You roll it back onto the dude's spool. So first cast in the morning, he throws his bait out there and it just keeps going. We've done that. Dominic, this one guy that doesn't even fish, he's just an idiot. He would, that's a good one, Tim. Dominic would take bread, and he'd take bread and put breadcrumbs all in your bed in the morning when we were all getting ready to leave. You get in there, you've been fishing all day, staying up, had a couple adult beverages with the boys, you're tired, you're ready to go crash and get up and go again. You crawl in your bed, and what happens is during the day that bread gets stale. Them crumbs get stale. So now you got like little hard, crunchy, falling apart breadcrumbs all up in your bed. And you can't possibly get them all out of your bed. It's not possible. So you got to sleep on crunchy, itchy breadcrumbs. It sucks. If y'all know Zach Watts, Zach Watts is like addicted to a vacuum worm. He's better about it now than he used to be, But back in these days, like especially on that Toledo trip, the only thing Zito wanted to throw was a wacky worm. That's all he wanted to throw. And we got in his boat. Me and Tim got in his boat and stole his wacky worm bag. Like he used to have a folding up bag. It had all his trick worms in there, his wacky hooks, his weight. Like it's a wacky worm bag, and that's like all he needed for the day because that's all he's gonna throw. Well, we got in his boat and took the wacky worm bag out, put it in our boat, and then he goes out and starts fishing, and catches his first fish, catches a couple, and tears up a wacky worm. Goes looking for his wacky worm bag, and it ain't there. So he doesn't know what he's gonna fish with. And that's not nearly as funny a prank, but if you know Zach, it was a really funny prank because I know in his head he was panicking. There he is right there. Zach, you remember when we stole your wacky worm bag? We rolled up to him, I don't know how, halfway through the day or whatever, said, hey man, you missing something out of your boat? It's like, yeah, I can't find my wacky worm bag. We gave it back to him, but yeah, the pranks were heavy in them days. Heavy, heavy, heavy. Have I tossed the A-rig around lately? Not lately, I haven't. I mean, what I've been talking about tonight, the shallow shell beds, the creek bends with the jig, and the grass areas, like that's what I've been doing. I really haven't been doing anything else. There is definitely typically an A-rig bite on Lake Fork this time of year that some guys do capitalize on. I like to be early on the pre-spawn deal and kind of be one of the first ones on it and try to get those first waves of fish that pull in there because I can kind of have them to myself. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Zach says he thought his wacky worm bag flew out on the way to the ramp that day. Oh, about sneeze. Ooh, I had to fight that one off, y'all. My goodness. Got 130 people in here watching me try not to sneeze. When is the next seminar? Next seminar will be next Friday. Yeah, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. A week from tomorrow. Headed there for the first time in March. Anything major that's a need to know besides timber. March is a great time to come. A lot of what the patterns are going to be will depend on the weather in March, but there'll probably be some fish spawning depending on what time of March you're here. If you're in late March, there'll definitely be fish spawning. Big swim bait deal kind of starts going down in March. Like there's a lot of things you can do in March. It's a good time of year to be here. Yeah, if you've never been here, highly suggest buying the boat lanes chip that you can put in your graph to give you lanes to navigate the lake. Otherwise, you will spend a lot of time idling, bud. Tim says, you sleep very lightly on those trips, no matter how much brown water. That's right. You got to sleep with one eye open. You got to sleep with one eye open if you go on the group trip that we go on Toledo. For sure. You never know what's going to happen to you. It's a little out of hand. I don't even like talking about them. I won't bring all that up. I'm hoping that, I'm getting older now. I'm hoping this year there won't be as many of those pranks and I can relax a little bit. I think we're all getting too old. I feel like I'm getting too old. Of course, I'll probably be the number one guy trying to jack with people when we get down there. So, who wants to go this year? Who wants to go on our Toledo trip? We're going to have 157 people on the Toledo trip. Last year, tore them up on hollow bodies around shallow points in mid-March. Yes, that can definitely happen. No doubt. Nick says he's been watching all of our videos to prepare for that trip in March. Hey, man, thank you. I appreciate you watching them. Here we go. We got everybody coming in. Everybody's coming into the Toledo trip now. I'm in. I hear you. Is there a difference in the boat lane chips? There is a difference in the boat lane chips. Does one have more boat lanes? Man, I honestly don't know which one has more. I've been running Fork for so long, I don't really pay any attention to the boat lane chips. I just run what I run. So I'm not the best guy to ask about that as far as what the boat lane ship have to offer. I think they're both pretty darn good. I haven't heard anything negative about either one of them, so I think you could buy either one and be in real good shape. Well, I think I caught up on questions. I know there was some I missed like way earlier in the live stream. We were talking about baits and stuff. So if you guys got some more questions, throw them in there. Tim Rhodes says, y'all are in until you wake up with crackers in your socks, wet bread on your windshield. Yeah, all your rods are messed up. I'm telling y'all, it's bad. It's bad. Yeah, who was that? Zach that threw that wet bread at your window, Tim? I think it was Zach. We were pulling out one day. It had been raining, and we came in. We were pulling back out. The rain was about to stop, and we were heading to the ramp. And Zach comes out with this piece of bread that's just sogging wet. He throws it on Tim's windshield, and it sticks on Tim's windshield. And then it slides down and goes between the hood and like gets down in the motor. Just it's gone. The bread's gone. It's inside Timmy's truck somewhere. We don't know where. It's down there in his motor compartment. We sure eat good. We do eat good when we're down there. Zach's usually cooking it up, man. We get that old South Louisiana boy. He gets to cooking and it's good. Tim says the drag deal did suck on that 10, 11-pound fish. Yeah. So Tim was in the boat with me last day on one of those trips. And the water was real dirty. That was when Toledo Bend was like at a record high. It was like an all-time record high. We did have the cameras going. That was the first year we had the cameras going. And I'd caught plenty of fish on the trip. So the last day I decided muddy water, be darned. I'm going to throw that big swim bait because we only fish a half a day on the last day. Then we drive home. I said, I'm going to throw that big swim bait till we leave. All day. That's all I'm doing. That way maybe I can catch a giant. So I pick up that smash that convict and I put it in my hands and I don't let go of it. I get a couple bites that don't get it. Then I get one that just throttles it. And I set the hook and it just goes zip, like my drag slips. So I back my drag off, you know. And my drag slips and I end up losing that fish about halfway the boat. And Tim saw it and Tim's caught a bunch of double-digit fish and I've seen my share of them. And I thought it was over 10 and I asked Tim, I said, man, how big do you think that fish was? He goes, this is at least 10, 11 pounds. So, yeah, I lost a giant on Toledo on a big swim bait because of the prank war. That one hurt a little bit. I was pretty mad. Have you ever used a Ramsey Baits core shot? No, I've never used those core shot stick baits. Sure haven't. What's your setup for a swim jig? Man, you know, I like to throw a swim jig in really heavy cover. I like to throw it on about a 7.3 heavy rod. And a lot of times I'll throw it on 30-pound braid. I will throw it on 20-pound fluorocarbon too, though, depending on the cover I'm fishing it in. So the rod, though, is going to be a 7.3 heavy. Sorry, JD says, sorry. You ain't got to be sorry for getting here late. I'm just glad you got here, brother. What do you think about Guggen baits? I think they make pretty good baits. I mean, I don't know a lot about some of their newer stuff they come up with the last couple of years, but when they first launched the plastics, I was really impressed. And the plastics they make are good. I mean, I'm not going to say anything, but they are very good. The hard baits, I'm in a little bit of a difficult position with that because I know the Guggen boys, and I'm kind of friends with some of them, and to me, they're really good guys. They've treated me really well. And so I'm not going to go in negatively on them in any kind of way. Of course, there's the whole controversy that Milliken kind of kicked off with the hard baits and who copied what or whatever. And I don't know that any of that's true, and I don't know that all of it ain't true. Like, it's not my place. I don't really care. It's not something I even want to think about. I'm stuck in the middle on that deal. I think the Guggens are really good people. From my experience with them, they're great guys. I think they make good products, and they sell them really well because they've built probably the most powerful marketing base in the industry. So I don't think there's any doubt about that. What they've done, the work they put into it, and what they've accomplished is pretty darn remarkable, honestly. Simsy's here. What's up, Simsy? Do you have to use a heavy gauge hook to make the whale swim bait kill when throwing it weightless? I use a weighted hook on it. I'm actually using a 5/0 owner flashy swimmer or a 5/0 belly weighted hook. I'm not throwing it on a weightless hook. But I'll tell you, on that 5/0 owner flashy swimmer, you can swim it really, really slow, and it holds, it drafts well. It holds up in the water column well. I've been really impressed with that swim bait. It's been very, very, very good in my limited time using it because it just came out. But it's been a very good swim bait for me personally. So that's what I'm throwing it on mostly is that 5-aught flashy swimmer, and it does really well. Did I see that Lunkers is fishing the opens? Yeah, I did. Actually, not only did I see it, I talked to him about it a while back before, several weeks before any of this came out. We talked about it. He told me he's going to do it. I think it's good. I mean, the deal with Lunkers is he doesn't have anything to lose, really. He doesn't have anything to gain. And I know him well enough to know that he's doing it. It's something he wants to do for him. It's not about anything else. The odds are in the beginning. I mean, the betting odds would be against him in the beginning. Obviously, he doesn't have a very, very, very limited tournament experience. Rob doesn't have hardly any tournament experience. So the odds are in the beginning he's probably not going to do well. That being said, that's one of the smartest and hardest working people I've ever come across in my life by far. Maybe the smartest and hardest working guy I've ever met. He has been extremely successful in many endeavors, whether it was being a sniper in the United States Army. He was very successful at that. He was very successful in a video game company that he owned part of when he got out of the Army. And obviously what he's done with Guggen and the YouTube channel with 1.7 million subscribers and all that stuff. I mean, in a lot of ways, he has been a big part of revolutionizing this entire industry. So he's a very successful, very driven, very smart, hardworking guy. You really don't want to bet against somebody like that at anything they do. I mean, you really don't. Like I said, the odds are he's probably going to go out there and get beat, especially in the beginning. But honestly, if he showed up and had a good finish in the very first event, it really wouldn't surprise me. Now, if he shows up and wins the first event, I'm going to be kind of shocked. And I think he would be shocked. I think he would say that. But I bet before the end of the open season, if he stays with it, I bet he has some good finishes because he's smart. He's really smart, and he's really tenacious, and he gets after it. So he understands. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of dudes fishing the open that are very good fishermen. There's a lot of guys that work very hard and want it real bad. But one thing about Lunkers TV, he has achieved things on a higher level than most human beings ever will. He has. And he understands that obsessive work rate and work level and focus. He gets all that most of those guys in the opens, honestly, are learning. He understands it already, the work ethic part. And there is an extreme amount to be extremely successful at anything. There is a level of work ethic that goes into it that most people, they think they know and they don't. And he really does understand that level of work ethic. So I'm not counting him out. Plus, he's a friend, so of course I'm pulling for him. When's the next seminar? It's a week from tomorrow. Next Friday. Not tomorrow, but a week from tomorrow. Oh, God, my nose. At 6 p.m. at Lake Fork Marina. It's that time of year, boys. The old nose is going to act a fool. He was on the LD and the MC show this week. I saw that he was on there. I didn't get to see the show yet, but I know he was on there. I'll probably listen to it going to the lake tomorrow. He knows it's going to be a struggle. Yeah, I'm sure he does. So he must have talked about it, how it's going to be a struggle when he gets out there. Yeah, I'm sure he knows that. I'm sure he knows that. But, like I said, he's accomplished a lot of things that he probably shouldn't have, and he just worked his way through it and determination and all that, so can't count a guy like that out. Texas Air Gunner says, I met him working for Fun and Sun, respect him for all his accomplishments. Absolutely. You can't knock the guy, man. He's done some really cool stuff, some really special stuff. Am I using the Cloud 9 C6? Not really. Not really. I'll tell you what I do use, and I really like the 3.8 Mini Mag. That little crankbait 6 cents makes is really freaking good. What's the biggest bass you ever lost at the boat? Just lost my first good sized fish of the year at the dock. Oops. Uh-oh. Just lost my first good sized fish of the year. Why do I keep doing that? At the dock, and I'm in need of motivation. I keep hitting something that's making a little white screen pop up, and I can't see the comments. What's the biggest bass I've ever lost at the boat? Well, I've had 2 different customers lose a fish that I pretty much guarantee you were over 13. You know, how far over 13? It's hard to say. But they were over 13. They were, no doubt about it. One was on a big flutter spoon in November, and it just came to the it just came off. It just pulled off. Came to the surface roll. We got a really good look at it. Went back down, and it's on a flutter spoon, so it ain't like you can horse them or dog them, or, you know, it's not like you got braid and a flipping jig on there. It just pulled off on a tight line. It was just an unlucky thing. Guy didn't do anything wrong. The equipment didn't do anything wrong. It was just one of them deals. It just happens. And you do lose some fish on a flutter spoon. It will happen. The other one was on a Smash Tech Convict on a shallow shell bed, I believe in March. I believe it may have been April. I believe it was March though. And that one was a deal where the guy just let the fish get his head and turn its head. And I told him, when you get a fish hooked on that big swim bait, it's a big one, just hold the rod up and reel as fast as you can, and I'll get the net on it when it gets here. And at the last minute, that guy just kind of let up just a little bit, let that fish turn his head and run, and it broke him off. So, am I throwing any chatterbaits right now? Yeah, we talked about the baits earlier in the live stream, but yeah, no, chatterbait, I'm definitely throwing a chatterbait right now for sure. A black and blue one and a white one. And they just kind of randomly bite one better than the other day to day. You never know which one they're going to bite better. Zane Selman says, I forgot to tighten the plug in my boat this morning. Had to jump out in the middle of the lake and replace it. The water is stupid cold. Some people got a good show from their lake houses. Oh my God. Oh, the joys of bass fishing. It's so great. What, they're called Billy Baits because he always throws them? What do we call them, Billy Baits? I missed something in the comments, I guess. Do I ever submit fish to ShareLunker? Well, I haven't caught a 13-pounder, or I definitely would submit that to ShareLunker. I can tell you that. You know, I haven't, and I should. It's a good program, and I believe in the program, and I like the program. And, man, I have a hard time remembering to do that. You know, it's not that we just catch 8-pounders every day, but, you know, when it gets going good, like 8-pounders are, you know, there's multiple of them every week when it's going good. I just don't always, I just never remember to do it. It's just something I've never done. And when I'm out on the water, I'm not thinking about share. Listen, I'm tell you something, when I'm on the water, like there's one thing on my mind, and it is how to get the next bite. From the time I get there till the time I pull it into the boat ramp. And so when we catch one, I'm just thinking about what we need to do, take care of this fish, get a good picture of it. Let's let it go. Let's get another one. Like, it just never crosses my mind. And I need to. I need to. This is a good question. How often do you stick double digits? So, realistically, there's a lot of fish that get called 10-pounders that aren't. Even by fishing guides. Especially maybe by fishing guides, you could say in some ways. There's a lot of fish that get called 10-pounders that aren't 10-pounders. And I've heard guys make comments about catching 20 10-pounders a year or something like that. In my experience, nobody's doing that. Guys that I know that are really, really good, nobody's catching 20 10-pounders anymore. Not now. Maybe in the 90s when fork was at its peak, I'm sure they were then. But not now. Not even close. I can tell you this. I had it going about as good as anybody, it seemed like, in 2017 and 18, and kind of in 19 as well. There was a couple guys that caught them better than I did in 2020. But in those years, in 2017 and 18, I had 4 double digits in my boat. And we had 3 in 2019. And I think if you're getting 4 or 5 double digits a year, you're probably doing about as good as anybody is. Like legit double digits, you're landing 4 or 5 in your boat a year, you're doing about as good as anybody is. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure somebody would probably argue that with me and tell me that they've caught 10 or 15 in a year or whatever. The guys that I know are telling me the truth, that are really, really, really legendary type anglers, they're not catching 10 a year, you know. Sims, you can't catch him on it. Sims says he struggles to catch him on a chatterbait. Man, it's like, you know, when people say things like, they say, well, I struggle to catch him on a jig, or I struggle to catch him on a jerkbait, or I struggle to catch him on a chatterbait, or whatever it may be. Man, I really think that this is what happens. You throw it for a little bit. You've got it in your head that you're not going to catch them on it. You don't have confidence in it. So you don't get bit on it. So you pick up something you have confidence in, and then you fish it hard and longer, and you end up getting a bite on that, and you're like, see, I catch them better on a swim jig. I think if you just leave that chatterbait in your hand, you'll start getting some bites. And that's the whole key to learning a new bait. You just leave it in your hand and start getting, until you do get bites on it. And then that builds confidence, and then you're willing to fish it longer, more thoroughly, better. That's just how it works. You know, back in the day, you know, well, it's been a lot of years ago now, but, you know, a jig was kind of like a hole in my game. I just didn't really catch them very good on a jig. And so one year, around fall, I just took everything out of my boat. I didn't have any tournaments to fish. This is long before guiding, long before making videos. I was just, that fall and winter, I was just going to be fishing for fun. I took everything out of my boat except a box full of jigs, a box full of trailers, and 3 rods I can throw a jig on. And that's all I had in my boat. And I'd caught, you know, fish on a jig here and there, but I never could catch them like I felt like I should. And I did that. And the first morning I went out with nothing but that in my boat, I caught 6 in the first 4 hours on a jig. And had like a good bag of fish. And I was like, well, solve that problem. And then I continued to fish that jig solely for, you know, a good month or two till I felt really, really, really good about it. And now a jig is one of my most confident. I mean, it's in here every week this time of year in my top 5 baits or whatever. I love a jig. So I really think the key is just with a new bait that you don't have confidence in is just staying with it. Like, just stay with it. Jeremiah Smith says, can I get you finance for some 6 cents gear? Yeah, man, we'll work something out. Holler at me, dog. We'll work something out. Any thoughts on President Biden? I've got a lot. Oh, God, I've got so many thoughts on President Biden. All right. 10 seconds and liberal tears. Here we go. President Biden, you know you cheated, dog. You know you cheated. President Biden, why in the hell do you need an entire army for an inauguration when Trump was the most hated man in the universe and walked right through the crowd? That don't even make any sense. You need an army? They were literally tearing Washington, D.C. apart, destroying things in Trump's inauguration, and he still walked right on up there without the army or the wall. Hold up, dog. Wait a minute, Democrats. I thought walls and guns were bad. What the hell y'all using all them walls and guns for? Like, what are we doing? The insanity that this country accepts. And I'm sure I'm not talking, the vast majority of y'all see things probably very similar to me. The level of kids close years. Bullshit that we allow to be put upon us, the level of lies and deception that are so blatant and so obvious. And we're just half the country. Listen, whether the election was rigged or not, there was a huge population of this country that voted against Trump and for Biden, however you want to look at it, however you want to word it. The fact that there's that many people in this country that believe the garbage that the mainstream media feeds them blows me away. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, people have no common sense. Nobody even tries to make their own decisions. It's just a bunch of sheep just following the herd. Whatever the news says, well, they're the leaders. They're the powers that be. This country was built. This country only exists because we questioned leadership when they were doing things wrong and immoral and unjust. And now our leadership's doing things wrong and immoral and unjust. And a huge part of the country's like, no, they're right. No, what they're saying is true. No, they're the lead. We got to follow them. They're the leaders. That's what we got to do. Like, there's a huge, like, millions and millions and millions of people are on board with that. Whether it's the majority or not, whether they cheated, whatever. The fact that there's 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, whatever it is in this country that believe this crap is just unfathomable to me. I can't believe how much lack of common sense. And I'm going to tell you, and I said this before and I'll say it again, and this is the deal. We, as a country, are a bunch of fat, spoiled, rich kids. It's what we are as a country. And the only reason this crap gets swept under the rug in this country and they get away with it is because despite all of their crap that they're pulling, this is still one of the easiest places to get by. It's one of the most safe and secure places on earth. It's prosperous, financially. That's why we get away with this, because we're all just going to sit here, and as long as Timmy's got a soccer game, and yeah, maybe there's some people struggling, but you know what? Nobody's really, like, anybody that's kind of trying isn't really starving in this country. Like, nobody's hungry that's trying. We're all eating. We all have a place to live. We all have life, a quality of life that is way above many places in this earth. I mean, even people that sit on their butt and do nothing, with our country, we're so rich that our poorest people are our fattest people. How does that happen? Like in Africa, you know what in Africa? In Africa, if you're fat, you know what that means? That means you're rich. In America, the poorest people are the fattest. Because they just sit around all day and get their government handouts and they still do well enough to eat whatever they want. And that's all they do. A lot of them. Not all of them, not all, but a lot of them. It's unfathomable. And what's happening, and this is what I think many of you and a big portion of this country, and the people that vote for Donald Trump in record numbers, what we see is we see what's going on and we see the direction it's heading, and we are trying to stop this before we get to a point where this country is not a bunch of spoiled fat rich kids. Because at some point, enough of this deception and deceit and theft really is going to go on to a point where this country is going to have real problems, and there's going to be huge numbers of unemployed, and the government handouts someday are going to stop coming to those poor. And then what are we going to do? Because we're going to be so downtrodden and behind the eight ball that we're not going to be able to fight back, or at least that's possible. And that's what free thinking people, they see the writing on the wall on this deal, and they're trying to stop it before it gets out of control. That's why everybody's so mad. So, I don't know, man. I hope that more of this country wakes up. You know, the big deal to me is, yeah, these career politicians, this political elite is corrupt as it gets. It's as disgusting and corrupt as it gets. and 98, 99% of them should be kicked out of office, and we should vote in other people. But it's such a hard thing to fight through. It's so hard to fight through and get through that. I don't know. It's a mess, man. It's a mess. It's a shame. It hurts to watch it happen. Somebody got what they wanted out of this. What are your thoughts on President Joe Biden? My thoughts on President Joe Biden are, he still don't know what the hell he's doing. That dude's clueless. He's doing whatever the party tells him. He is nothing but a speaking puppet for the party. That's all he is. That's all he is. Yeah. Probably is. It's probably going to have to get worse before it gets better. Unfortunately, it probably will have to get worse. More people will have to have really, really hard times and really, really struggle. A bigger percentage of this country will have to fall flat on their face before they realize how messed up what is happening is. Can Biden catch a bedfish? Not in my damn boat. He ain't welcome. Neither are any of the other corrupt political elites from the Republicans and the Democrats. Let me make that clear. We call it liberal tiers. It should be called believers in career politicians tiers, because, yeah. Hey, dog, how about this? How about this? First day in office, old cat Biden signs an executive order that says masks are mandatory on all federal property. The next day, he's standing at a podium in the White House without a mask on. Like, he's breaking his own law in one day. That's how, and everybody's just okay with it. Like, everybody's okay with it and just buying in. Oh, no, you got to wear that mask. Wear that mask. Man, I was having a really good night. I was thinking about fishing. Fishing's been a good time. I've been trying to ignore all this. Now I'm all fired up. So thank you. Whoever did that. I don't like you very much right now. Set the hook. It was good to meet you too, buddy. I appreciate you coming up to me in the parking lot that day. It was good to meet you. Do we have to wear a mask on a Core Lake? I seen Renner asking that on Facebook. It was cracking me up. He asked it somewhere. It was cracking me up. Oh, man. Yeah, I mean, Core Lake is owned by the government. Ben Eady, what's up? It was good to see you, brother. It was great to see you on the water the other day. Absolutely. Since I'm on Fork a lot, have I seen any ducks lately? Yes. Is duck season still going? I saw a bucket full of ducks Tuesday. I'm talking about like 100 of them. Tons of them. And they were in a very, very obvious place that is very popular to duck hunt. And I ain't seen anybody hunting back there in a while. Yeah, ends on the 31st. Yeah, there's a lot of ducks. A lot of ducks. Obama's third term getting the old band back together. Oh my God. Stop. We got to stop. Y'all going to ruin my night. We got to stop. Man, screw freaking Biden. Screw all them dang politicians. I'm going fishing. Hell with them. Yep. David Cole nailed it. F it. Let's go fishing. Sold. I'm in. Holy cow. Avery Gatton says, I know what you're talking about for him. Yeah, I think you saw some with me too. There was a bunch of them up there. Like, I saw a bunch of them on Tuesday up there, like tons of them. Timmy Rose says, back to fishing. Yellow spinnerbait with a 10-aught or beast trailer hook work? Yeah, it'll work for you. For Tim, it probably would work. Man, you're the most luckiest fish catching dude I ever met. That dude, he'll catch fish in the stupidest areas with the stupidest baits. Some people just got that golden horseshoe up their butt when it comes to fishing. Oh, D. Smith. Just don't. Man, I don't even want to think about that, bro. I'm not even going to repeat that comment. That's just, ugh. made me throw up my mouth. How do you find shell beds? I thought we covered this earlier. The loons. You just look for little shallow points and outcroppings, and then you run a bunch of them until you see some loons working one, and that's a good shell bed. Like, the loons are all over them suckers, man. Herons stack up around them on the bank when the wind blows on them. The birds really clue you in as to what are the best shell beds. Tony Maynard says, maybe my co won't text his wife Saturday like your co did. He didn't do it all day. He did it once. To be fair, I was in a bad mood because we weren't catching them in that tournament. And J-Bo texted his wife in the middle of the day, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm texting my wife. I was like, during the tournament? Like, what? Anyway. What are shell beds? What are shell beds? Essentially, what shell beds are is hard spots that have been exposed over the years by wind, and plankton tends to gather on them. But they have shell mixed in it. It makes the bottom extremely hard and rough. And it also happens to occur in areas where plankton really gathers in big quantities, and bait fish eat plankton, so the bait fish gather there when the plankton arrives, and then of course the bass come with that. So they're just hard spots, really, really hard spots, essentially is what they are functionally for us fishermen. According to Mike. Yeah, Mike focuses on shell beds a lot, but I mean, no, Mike knows it's not the only way to catch them. It's just the way he likes to do it. He believes in them. He fishes them pretty much year round. But I mean, I promise you, Mike's fishing some of them back of the creeks if I'm fishing right now. I know he is. Yeah, if you just, whoever was asking what are shell beds, if you literally just search on YouTube for Lake Fork shell beds, you will find several videos that we've done over the years explaining all that in depth. Nick, I appreciate it, brother. In fact, you know what? We're going to go ahead and wrap it up, man. I do have to get up early and go fishing. I got to get all these rods back in the boat. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up, man. Thank y'all so much as always, man. You guys killed it. Tons of y'all in here all night tonight. We're over an hour in. We still got 140 something of y'all in here. We had 150 something a little while ago. It's really, really humbling and really, really awesome to have all you guys come on here every week like you do. It seems like we're getting more and more every day. The YouTube channel is about to go over 20,000 subscribers, so if you're still here and you're not subscribed, I would appreciate it if you subscribe. We're about to go over 20,000. We may have to do a little party or something here in the next week. I got to start thinking about how to plan that, but that's really cool. I remember when I first started doing YouTube, Tactical Bassin had 20,000 subscribers, and I was like, man, if I could get 20,000 like Tactical Bassin, that'd be awesome. That'd be really, really cool. And we're about to do it. Probably this week. So it's unbelievable. I'm just a stupid redneck idiot that likes to fish a lot, and you guys keep watching, and I don't always understand it. I just always appreciate it. So thank y'all very much, man, from the bottom of my heart, sincerely. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. We will see you next time right here on your Lake Fork Guide.